Pat Crawford, and I bring you another meditation moment. And what I want to share with you today are a few words about grace for the struggle. Paul, in his recording in 2 Corinthians, penned the words, "And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." According to the Urban Dictionary, the struggle is real denotes where the user wishes to express that they are encountering some sort of undesirable difficulty, but they're dealing with it. Also, it's used to describe trying times or unpleasant situations that it may be sometimes hard to get through. In one way or another, all of us are struggling with something. We are fighting and wrestling against things that are happening in our lives, in our homes, in our families, on our jobs, in the world. We're dealing with health situations, and we're dealing with family crisis, mental health crisis, and sometimes financial crisis. The cost of gas is crazy. Food prices are going up all over the place, and we're having mental health crisis, and the aftermath of COVID-19 and its variants are still out there. And so we're struggling, and we're struggling. And yes, in many ways, the struggle is real. But I want you to know and understand today that your God is real. And he's the master of addressing struggles. There is no struggle that is too hard for him, because his grace is sufficient for every struggle. So Paul says that he was struggling with this thorn in the flesh, and the enemy had come to attack him. And for this thing, he says he sought the Lord 3 times. He was struggling to be free, that this situation would leave him. But God didn't respond as he thought that he ought to respond. His words were, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." See, your struggle sometimes is a platform for his strength. And see, while you're struggling and trying to get through, when you can't go in your own strength, then it's God's strength that prevails and get you through. Your struggle is also the platform for the revelation of God's grace and power. So family and friends like Paul, we find our answers in Jesus, no matter the situation. As Paul turned to Jesus, so must we turn to Jesus in our struggles. For Christ's sakes, Paul said, "I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, and difficulties." In the midst of the struggle, there is grace when we are weak, and God's power becomes our power. We become strong in his grace. His grace is sufficient to take us where we need to go, to do what we need to do. And we never have to think that we are alone in the midst of the struggle, for he's always there, the ever-present help in the time of need. Think about the struggle of the butterfly trying to break out of the cocoon. The reason why we can't help him is that the butterfly has to struggle in order to strengthen his wings that he might fly. If you take the butterfly from the cocoon before it's time, then you have crippled him. And so God, in his infinite wisdom, uses ways through the struggles to strengthen us for every trial and tribulation. So I want to say to you today that no matter the extent or the depth of your pain, the duration of your trial, how long it seems like you've been waiting for an answer, I want you to know that God's grace and his power is sufficient enough to strengthen you to go through it, to get through it, to make it. His power and his grace is more than enough, because his strength is what we need in order to be empowered, to be propelled to the next level of our faith and in our life. Jesus is our model for getting through struggles. He showed us how to do it in the Garden of Gethsemane. He struggled as his disciples slept. The tears came down as drops of blood. The sweat came down as drops of blood. And then, as he struggled to go to the cross, carrying it, such a heavy load, he struggled to carry that Simon came along to help him. He even struggled on the cross. He struggled to breathe. But God gave him strength in the midst of the struggle. And he died that we might live and have life more abundantly. Through his struggle and his death, we have new life. So we thank God for knowing that his grace will always be sufficient. It is sufficient for the struggle. His grace is sufficient to uphold you. It is sufficient to strengthen you. It is sufficient to keep you. It is sufficient to encourage you in the midst of what you're going through, to bring you out, to bring you through, to help you to overcome, to shield and protect you. His grace is sufficient. God bless you. This has been Pat Crawford with a meditation moment. We hope that you enjoyed. And until the next time, may the Lord bless and keep you.